All right. Now I would like to introduce Duncan MacPherson. Duncan?
Okay, Tyler, thank you very much. And great to be here. And I'm going to jump right in. Let's go because I've got about 90 minutes worth of information to pass along in about 40. So this will be the proverbial Gatling gun of information. So let's just jump right to the poll. Have you had a strategic planning meeting with your team? No, it's on the calendar, or yes. Okay, and that's about right what I'm seeing there so far. Q4 is when most teams start to have this very deliberate, focused, concentrated, scheduled meeting with their team. So I would hope that you're going to make this a priority just to galvanize your vision and keep the momentum going, because I'm going to assume you had a great year this year, notwithstanding the hiccups and friction and disruption. But let's make next year your best year ever. I believe there's a renaissance just around the corner. I'm very, very optimistic and excited about the future. But a lot of that is by choice and by design. Okay, so that's great. Right up front, I really appreciate you making the time to be here. I know that it's noisy out there and you get invited to countless events like this. So I'm hoping that you saw the merit in just tuning out the noise and focusing on what matters to you and what you can control. Time, as Tyler was mentioning, is so incredibly valuable. If you're a parent, you might have heard the expression, the days are long, but the years are short. Here we are looking right at 2022. I remember Y2K, and it doesn't feel like that was 21 years ago. To paraphrase or refer to Hemingway, he said, things tend to happen gradually, then suddenly. And look at that, another year has whizzed by. But you are a lifelong planner for your clients. But what I found is that many financial professionals put off doing their own very deliberate business planning, not just financial planning, but business planning. This is drawn directly from our coaching and consulting engagements with our best clients. So there's a lot of credibility behind this philosophy and this process. I want to make this as DIY for you and your team as possible, so you can run with this. I will say, as a little bit of a plug for us, if you want the accountability of having a very well navigated and deliberate approach to this, I do spot coaching on strategic planning for financial professionals. I have 7 spots left for 2021. And if you want to put the noise canceling headphones on and really define your vision in terms of untapped opportunities, overlooked vulnerabilities, and where the veins of gold are that exist in this business for you specifically, then just go to Pareto Systems, schedule a conversation with us to see if there's merit in booking that strategic planning one-to-one consultation. I'll just remind you, okay, the objective, the purpose of all of this, right out of Maslow's hierarchy, is self-actualization, the best version of ourselves. Again, Hemingway, I'll paraphrase. The goal is not to be superior to another person. The goal is to be superior to our former self. And that's a choice. So undoubtedly, some of you, many of you, read the book Good to Great by Jim Collins. That's a legendary book. Been around for a while, but you might recall the hedgehog concept, where he asks 3 questions. And it's just designed to prompt your reason for being, personally and professionally. And the questions from a self-assessment perspective are, what do you love doing? What's your passion? And I'm assuming this is a passion. This is a calling. It's not a job. What can you be world class at? And I'm sure you take that very seriously in terms of refining your credentials and skills and qualities. and what can drive your economic engine. And this is such an amazing sector of the economy and the marketplace to be in from the standpoint of monetization. I'm bringing that up because I am personally driven by the concept of Kaizen, the Japanese premise, Kaizen. Kai means change, Zen means good. Change is good. Plateau avoidance is my goal personally, but we have to shape that. We have to sculpt that.
Yeah.
Hey, Tyler, your mic's on there. So let's go and move along here. I want to show you this concept. This is a customized version of an ikigai. Now, an ikigai, again, a Japanese premise around our reason for being. I learned this a while ago. I'm sure Jim Collins was at least partially motivated by this concept. But these are the questions I ask my clients. Do you love what you do? Are you developing a process that drives your enterprise value based on proprietary intellectual property? Are you growing through the vein of gold of constantly converting clients into referral generating advocates? Are you monetizing fully? Which may include shifting from organic to scalable growth. I will talk about that. That's professional development with a personal driver. Because the blue square, that's the bullseye. But I want the business to serve your life, not the other way around, which means you're never losing sight of your gratitude, your appreciation, your sense of purpose, your sense of balance, and your sense of personal fulfillment. That, to me, is the sweet spot. And your life's work, however many years you've been doing this, I'm hoping it's propelling you towards your own version of that blue square. And I would ask you, as you go through this exercise, and this is an exercise, to revisit Maslow's hierarchy, to get absolutely clear on our aspirations. When I was first introduced to Maslow's hierarchy, it didn't really resonate with me. I wasn't really ready to appreciate it. Now I do. I will tell you, this time of year is when I go out and purchase a new journal, an empty book. Might cost me $20, $30, $40. And I spend all of the following year trying to fill it up with information to make that worth $40. I've been doing this for almost 30 years. And within that book, I put in my reasons to just remind me about self-motivation, the why. I say that because when it comes to change, again, it's not uncommon. I'll see people put things off. Part of it is to avoid any form of disruption or self-sabotage. They want to ride their inertia confidence. But I want to be very clear on the concept of goal setting. Now, this is the starting point. Now, this is a very simple premise. Okay? Strategic planning and goal setting, you don't need to kill it or crush it with complexity. I just want you to professionalize it and standardize it and frame it. So again, this is a starting point. Now, you can go high level or you can go deep dive. High level, when I consult with a team and I'm talking about their why and their goals and where they see themselves in the future, I ask them two questions as a starting point. And I'd like you to just give this some thought. The first question is, are you today where you said you were going to be 5 years ago? So 5 years have come and gone. You set goals 5 years ago. Where are you? Most people I talk to in this business, they say they've exceeded their expectations. We're very fortunate. I just want you to start there. The second question, what does nirvana look like for you in the next 5 years? So the likelihood the next 5 years are going to go by even faster. Describe it, define it, get it out of your head. Now, if you want to go deeper into the goal setting exercise, we have a very simple frame called W5, 5 questions that start with W. I want you to invest your past into the future and just start with yourself. Now, I will tell you, we have financial professionals who have adopted and customized this framework in their client-facing relationships because they are goals-based planners. So the first question is, what are you grateful for? In the spirit of investing the past into the future, you have to have immense appreciation for what you already have while you aspire to what you want. So take a moment and just define on paper all the things you're grateful for. That's looking back to today. Now let's look forward. Where do you see yourself in the future? Get it out of your head. Write out your wish list. Now, I personally write out my wish list framed in form. What are my goals for my family? Education, travel, various aspirations, continuity, succession, legacy, all of that. Family, occupation. What are my goals? What am I trying to accomplish with my business, myself, professionally? Recreation, what's on my bucket list? And of course, money. Now, it's not uncommon. My reasons, my why, and where I see myself in the future, I will generally write down anywhere between 7 and 17 goals on my wish list, framed in form for the next year. Now, some of them I carry forward because I didn't get to them the year prior. But then what I do is I start to put timelines. When do I hope to accomplish these goals? I just put numbers beside them. 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, and so on. But I'm reminded about cause and effect and the importance of detaching from a full expectation of an outcome. Anxiety and frustration is born in the place between what you expect and what actually happens. So I'm at peace with the outcomes, but I don't want this just to reside in my head. But then it gets deeper. After I've gone through that exercise, the heavy question is, why is this so important to me? Jim Rohn, a mentor of mine back in the day, he said it so well. When the why is clear, the how pretty much takes care of itself. And I'll never downplay the importance of sculpting out a blueprint for the how, but the why is the fuel. And then ultimately, from a personal responsibility perspective, I don't know if you've read the book, Extreme Ownership, Personal Responsibility. That last question, who do I need to become to make all of this a reality? The clay is soft. What do I need to read? What credentials do I need to refine? What habits do I need to embrace? So I would ask you to go through your own form of W5, just to galvanize that, crystallize your vision on paper. Decide if you want to have this conversation with your team, and then decide to the degree that you want to standardize your goals-based planning approach. Many advisors do, and it's incredibly powerful in terms of competitor-proofing clients. Okay, but the value of this exercise really begins when it's done, when you decide, okay, it's go time, full send, let's do this. So again, you're at a fork in the road. You can do one of two things here. Keep it high level or do a deep dive on your strategic planning. So let's keep moving along here. We have a very simple STAR planning framework that we'll make available to you just because you've invested your time with us today. I've been using this. It's been evolving in countless consultations. It's designed to have a 4-page strategic plan Very straightforward. You can do it solo. You can do it with your partners. You can do it with your entire team in a scheduled meeting. And I hope you're at a point now, at a minimum, you have regularly scheduled meetings with your teams. It's not reactive. It's not haphazard. It's scheduled and defined. Ideally, 5 minutes a day for a huddle, 1 hour a week scheduled, 2 hours a month scheduled, half a day every quarter, and 1 full day offsite, ideally every year, to do strategic planning with your team. Now, let's move along here. You can keep it high level, framed in STAR. STAR's an acronym. I love acronyms. The self-analysis portion is to evaluate your opportunities and vulnerabilities as you're growing to get clear on your gaps. Targets. What economic targets do you have? What growth targets do you have in terms of client count, caliber of client, all of that? Get clear on your targets, define them, and then embrace cause and effect based on the activities. Your activity will determine your productivity. There are force multipliers. You know how the inflection point works. And then the reality check, which is ultimately designed to prevent the most powerful force that undermines strategic planning and goal setting, which is the immutable law of diminishing intent. Okay, you can keep it at the STAR planning framework, high level, or you can go deeper. I hope you go deeper. You know the saying, you have to accept the things you can't change? I personally flip that. I want to change the things I can't accept. One thing I cannot accept is hitting a plateau, maxing out. I want to keep going. I'm very fortunate. I have free will. I've got a good thing going, but I don't ever want to become complacent. So this is the framework. This is the deep dive. Let's move along. Strategic is another acronym. This is the cascading incremental process to get everything out of your head to create a fully defined strategic plan. So let's start with the strategic summary. You might have heard the expression, you'll see it when you believe it. The strategic summary, let's keep moving, is self-fulfilling. So I would like you to create your promissory statement to yourself. Describe nirvana. If everything could fall out of the sky into your lap in the next 5 years and beyond, what does it look like? One of my favorite examples, a number of years ago, I was having a consultation with a team, and I said to the team, are you a $1 billion team currently managing 500 million? Yes or no? There was a long pause, and the lead said, I'd like to think so. And I said, well, you'll see it when you believe it. Today, they are a $1 billion team, north of $1 billion. It's powerful to add a comma. But they did it on their terms. But that nirvana statement, that strategic summary, 1 paragraph, and it encompassed not just productivity, personal development drivers as well. So I would like you to define your strategic summary. 1 paragraph, what does it look like panoramically? Okay, let's go further. And again, embrace cause and effect. For many of the teams we consult with, they are growing up market. So I'm going to ask you, do you have your ideal client profile completely defined panoramically based on AAA on a sheet of paper that you could show anybody? So you can remove the mystery for yourself and for the world, not who you're looking for, but who you're suited for. You know the old saying, right? It's more important to reach people who count than it is to count the number of people you're reaching. Remember, you have three types of clients. You have the clients who need you, and you have the clients who deserve you, and then you have that movable middle right in between. Now, the most deserving clients, your existing AAA, your favorite clients, they're often the least demanding. So we tend to sometimes take them for granted. I don't want you spending time with people who need you at the expense of people who deserve you. And then, of course, the movable middle are the people who are tracking in the direction of becoming an ideal client in time. Now, this, of course, is fueled by the Pareto principle, the 80-20 rule, and is addressed through a service matrix. So as a companion, if you've got your ideal client profile defined, great. If you've got your service matrix defined, great. If you don't, that's a gap I'm going to ask you to address. And that's not complex. You just have to get it out of your head. And why is this so important? Well, every now and again, I'll have a consultation with a financial professional, and they'll tell me about an opportunity that they just missed out on or a client they just lost. And I'll say, well, that's not good, of course, but I want this to serve you, not hurt you. So I want you to call the client that departed, and I want you to thank them. I want you to say, thank you very much, because it was your departure that prompted me to take action. Because as a team, we've been discussing elevating the client experience, but you have prompted us to take action. And I really appreciate that. I just want to let you know that. When you lose a client, it's like losing your keys. They're not gone forever. The likelihood that that client, after the euphoria of the overpromise, underdeliver of the new advisor, after that fades, the anticlimax becomes evident, the professional contrast becomes evident, the likelihood that they're going to come back is high. If you professionally keep that door open and make sure the bridge doesn't catch fire. When you wrap up the call with that departed client, I want you to finish with a question. In the spirit of refining and optimizing what we do, can I just ask you, why did you leave? I've heard all kinds of different responses to that question. Here's one of the most powerful. The now former client said, well, my new advisor's got 75 clients, you've got 300. And because of my recent liquidity event, I feel that my needs are more complex now and in the future. I need a higher level of personal service. I want you to get so far out in front of this, because as you progress based on demography, momentum, your clients will have their own liquidity events, milestones, and moments of truth. And when these events happen, people from the outside start chirping and put ideas in the person's head that maybe they've outgrown you and it's time to deal with somebody else. So let's move along. I'm going to ask you to consider the concept of growing down. Part of branding and practice management consulting is all designed to help you achieve professional contrast, where it's so self-evident that you are superior to the pack. Part of professional contrast is brought to life through professional scarcity, which means there's a sense of belonging where clients understand that your goal is not to see how big you can get, it's how small you can stay. Now, of course, growing down can come in different forms. Again, based on 80-20. Maybe you've already done this as a team. The lead advisor works with the 20% of the clients who generate 80% of the business. The protege advisors or associates work with the 80% of the clients who generate 20% of the business. But this can never be perceived as a handoff. Ultimately, it has to be positioned as an upgrade. And I say that because your business, a panoramic business, not a book. You don't have a book. It's not even a book of business. It's a business. The ideal business is framed in people, practice, and process. Your clients trust and appreciate the people. They appreciate the client experience brought on by the practice. And they appreciate the process, not just what it is, but what it does for them. Now, here's what's fascinating. When reframing and allocating and automating relationships, if you move clients to a different person on your team, that person is still executing with the same practice and the same process. It's actually positioned to the point where you're doing that person a disservice by not allocating, allocating them to a different advisor or automating the relationship using technology. There are some clients that it's so far beyond automate and allocate. It needs to be disassociate. It's just not a good fit. Usually these are attitudinal disconnects. They're constantly trying to negotiate your value. They're micromanaging. They're disrespectful. You know the expression, everybody's either a fountain or a drain. Are there clients where there's a level of dread with you and your team? It's just not a good fit. Disassociate respectfully. You're not firing clients. It's just not a good fit. The alignment of interest is just not there now and in the future. Liberate yourself. Narrowcast and focus on clients now and in the future where the alignment is absolutely perfect. But again, you can get into that sweet spot where you have the dual track, where the lead advisor is working and they're staying in the lane of the 20%. Remember, you don't just manage money, you manage a business and you manage people. Treat all three with the same level of importance. How you manage money is not proprietary. It's commoditized. Your business and your clients are yours. They're yours. Treat them with the same level of importance. Let's take a deeper dive. Let's keep going. The A in the strategic framework acronym is activities. So as a team, I'd like you to determine in your scheduled meetings what activities you need to refine. And by the way, I will tell you, we have a placeholder. It's called always on. Okay, always on, always working on the business. If you want that framework, just ask me on LinkedIn. We'll send that framework. It's just a placeholder for assessing your various existing best practices and comparing and contrasting them to ours to identify what those gaps are. You have an onboarding process, you have a fit process, you have a service model, but there might be gaps and there might be areas for refinement and optimization and things that you could add. Over the course of the last 2 years, my favorite activity that advisors and advisory teams have been adding have been in branding their process and introducing a process to their clients that is proprietary, that has an identity, that has a personality. It's so incredibly powerful to ensure your clients understand and appreciate where your relationship is going. In the spirit of planning, you want your clients to fixate on the trajectory, not just where they are today, but where it's going. That's what future pacing is. To make sure a client understands there are parts of your process that aren't relevant to them yet, but as their life evolves, as things change, you'll get so far out in front of that. They don't outgrow your process, they grow into your process. And that's especially important with the dynastic drivers. Liquidity events and other moments of truth that start to engage other family members. That's a big part. And I will tell you something. If you've not already seen it, I've got a video. It's called 7 Pillars, 1 Process. If you want to reframe your client relationships, ask for that video, 7 Pillars, 1 Process. And if you want to have a conversation about branding your process to create a brand within the brand, okay, your clients already trust and like you. They already have a connection with your practice. Let's have them have the same level of appreciation for your branded process as they do for your practice and your people. That's how you competitor proof. That's how you capture money in motion. And that's how you create advocacy. Because your clients start to internalize how they feel about your people, your practice, and your process, and they socialize that to others. Let's keep going. Let's talk about technology. That's the T in the strategic framework. Have you embraced video as a team? Have you created an evergreen video for your website and any other activities, social, where you tell the world what makes you different? To help a prospective client vet you in advance of meeting you? To activate professional contrast? As Randy Schwantz says, he wrote the book, The Wedge. He said, for you to get hired, someone's got to get fired. But in order to put the wedge in, that prospective client needs to come to their own conclusions that you are an upgrade. Your value is bought, not sold. You're not trying to convince somebody you're superior. You want them to come to their own conclusions. Video can accelerate that professional contrast exercise. Have you embraced podcasts? Are you doing podcasting? Do you have a one-to-many digital marketing driver and branding driver? Are you engaging social media? I'm sure by necessity, you've become pretty competent with WebEx and Zoom. For many of you, you've started to do your strategy and tactical meetings over Zoom, and your clients love them. They're agenda driven, and it gives everybody the gift of time. I'll tell you something, many of our clients, especially at the high level, if they have 4 meetings with a client a year, 1 is in person, 3 are online. Those who really take it seriously, they book their client meetings Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. Mondays and Fridays are reserved for professional development, business refinement, and other forms of client experience. The point here is, I hope you schedule your Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday client meetings, and you call them and position them as strategy and tactical meetings, not review meetings. The review meeting is obsolete. In fact, I've got a video on that too. You can ask for it. The review meeting is obsolete. The idea of getting together with a client to rehash something that's already happened. The strategy and tactical meeting is where you invest the past into the future, make mid-course corrections, and make sure everyone's clear on the trajectory. It has a ramp-up feature. It's agenda-driven when you execute. And there's a follow-up feature where you crystallize what's been discussed in that meeting and send it to them after the meeting. Ask for that video too. But I'm hoping that you're embracing technology and it's serving you well. There's all kinds of different ways that you can outsource. Outsource minutia, outsource what's commoditized. I'll tell you something when it comes to technology and the concept of outsourcing. We're talking to many teams right now who are in essence getting out of the asset management business. What do I mean by that? It's commoditized. They outsource, they've shifted their mindset from households and holdings to platforms and models. They outsource it to somebody who's got scale. They take that time and invest it into their business and into their client relationships. For some advisors, they're doing their clients a disservice by not engaging with that outsourcing concept. Okay, understand something. Gentle reminder here. Every business is built to be sold. That was what Michael Gerber said in the E-Myth. Stephen Covey said, begin with the end in mind. Part of the beauty of being a process-driven financial professional and team is that every investment of effort you make contributes not just to your intellectual property, your client experience, and your growth trajectory, but also to your enterprise value. I'm hoping you fully, as a team, embraced the rule of three. The rule of three says everything you do 3 or more times, it has 3 or more steps, cannot reside in someone's head. If what your team members do resides in their head, it's a skill. It's not an intellectual property. The moment it's documented in your proprietary playbook. I had a consultation with an advisor whose name was Barry. And I said, this cannot be the Barry show. Your clients cannot just be connected to you. They need to be connected to everybody on the team. I want it to get to the point where if you ever answer the phone, a client asks you to talk to somebody on your team. And they're just as comfortable talking to anybody on the team because every team member has embraced the same practice and the same process based on the rule of three. The value of your business is not determined just by elements around revenue. There are a lot of people and a lot of entities right now who would rather buy a business than try to build it. What are they buying? Are they just buying the clients? Are they just buying the AUM? Are they just buying the profitability and the revenue? Or are they buying your IP as well? The multipliers are going through the roof right now. So again, please understand, every investment of effort you make, it is like forced savings. You are slamming money into the bank, driving your enterprise value by adopting that mindset. The G in strategic is growth. Ultimately, we want you to fully build out the concept of organic growth through conversion. And that's obviously framed in the loyalty ladder, primarily around converting clients into referral generating advocates. But here's the thing. That could be a proof of concept where you have completely rounded out your organic growth model, where you can shift to scalable growth. You could go out and acquire a business, somebody who's got no continuity and succession plan, somebody who's plateaued. Maybe they'll sell and stay. Maybe they'll gradually ease out. Perhaps you want to attract advisors to draft in behind your process and not be left to their own devices. They just want to work on their client relationships. They don't want to get bogged down in the minutia. Scalable growth is the next frontier. And again, when you bridge that interlude between organic and scalable growth, your enterprise value goes up even further. You are really fully not only building out your legacy around your life's work, but the monetization, those who achieve scalable growth of distribution, those who approach an inflection point of growth. I mean, how high is high? Okay, let's round out this strategic framework. The I in strategic is individual. Part of the benefit of this exercise is to remind you that the best way to take care of your clients, the best way to take care of your team is to take impeccable care of yourself. I meet many financial professionals who lead their teams, and everybody else's happiness and fulfillment and success is coming at the lead's expense. It's a form of self-sacrifice. Self-sacrifice, in my view, breeds contempt. It's not appreciated to the extent we feel it should. Self-interest, adopting the philosophy that says, I'll take care of me for you. The enlightened capitalist will never try to succeed at the expense of anybody. They'll always strive to succeed and achieve self-actualization through the service of everybody they touch. Team members, clients, strategic partners. But you got to power up your magnet. Work on yourself personally. Schedule time to take care of yourself from the standpoint of exercise, diet, yoga, whatever elements will add fuel and energy. It's a trite cliche, but you're either running the business or it's running you. And that is by design. Now, an extension of this is the last letter in the acronym, which is the C, which is for community. So it was 60 years ago, JFK was inaugurated. His tragic demise occurred 57 years ago next week. I'm only bringing this up because we've all heard several times one of the greatest takeaways from his inauguration speech, which was, ask not what your country can do for you. I'm bringing this up because I'm reasonably certain that Cicero in ancient Rome said along the same lines. I would just ask you to replace the word country with community in this context. Ask what you can do for your community with no expectation of accolades or a return of any kind. Just because it's the right thing to do and because it activates karma, partner with your team, partner with your clients, partner with your other service providers. There's a lot of need out there. This last couple years have been very hard on a lot of people. And I personally really like those ground level grassroots organizations, whether it's the Salvation Army, the Food Bank, and other entities that are just so directly impacting. Just look for ways. I was on LinkedIn today and I noticed somebody who's deeply involved with veterans. It's moving, it's powerful, and it adds so much energy to your sense of purpose, your drive, and your personal fulfillment, but also to your legacy because it's pure. Let's keep powering along here. Bottom line is, let's talk about taking action. Schedule your meetings with your teams throughout the rest of this year and into January to deliberately frame out your strategic plan. Don't dominate that meeting. Engage them with Socratic methods around just asking great questions, empower them, really listen. And at a minimum, on the surface at least, build out your 4-page STAR plan. Just frame it in those areas around, just what you're trying to accomplish and how you're going to get there, and holding each other accountable. That 4-page plan is a very solid DIY to galvanize your vision on paper. So build your 4-page plan, framed in STAR, at a minimum. Or go deeper and populate your strategic framework. Okay, so let's keep moving along here. Populate your strategic framework. Engage each team member. Let's move to the next slide. Look at that word. It's one of my favorite words, accretive. And in my view, that definition is 1 + 1 = 3. There's a force multiplier. I've met many teams that have 1 year of experience 25 times. Inertia, confidence, complacent, kind of set in their ways. Fair enough. They're coasting. I meet other teams that are cresting, which means they're still growing because they're so pure and authentic. at what they do, but they haven't gotten out in front of their capacity issues. So they're on a collision course, not with obsolescence, but with a plateau. And then you have the teams that are climbing. They are systematically eliminating any barriers of progression. So get this out of your head. It's not just a skill. It's not just an intention. I want you to increase the probability of self-actualization. You're a lifelong planner. You plan for your clients. It's not just that you create a financial plan, you do ongoing planning based on external dependencies and critical life events. Apply as much importance to planning for your own business. And again, you can DIY this or you can gauge us. And again, this is just my little infomercial. But you can go to our website at Pareto Systems and you can schedule a conversation just to understand what a strategic consultation with me looks like. It's an investment of time and money, granted, but we will not be done until you've absolutely defined your vision on paper. And as I said, I've got 7 slots left for this year, and beyond that, we're scheduling into January and throughout Q1 of 22. Either way, it's all good. It just depends on your sense of urgency and the merit that you place on strategic planning. There's how you speak with our team. Just hit that button where it says speak with our team for coaching and consulting. And there's a little video of me talking about our philosophy and our approach, which is always based on proven strategies drawn from our consultations with teams and is completely process driven. I don't do fireside chats and pep talks and group hugs and things like that will go to your head to die, that are very temporary in their value. The value of every consultation we do begins when it's over, because you have an absolutely straightforward, uncomplicated plan that gives you clarity and precision going forward. So populate your strategic framework. Please understand McNamara's fallacy. McNamara's fallacy says that if you can't measure it, you can't manage it. There are measurable key performance indicators in your business that I do want you to define in your strategic framework. But as a fee-for-service professional, somebody who thinks for a living, somebody who's helping people look to the future with anticipation, your qualitative value, your bedside manner, your X factor, those are meaningful. Not always measurable, they're meaningful. There is an art and science to achieving self-actualization. I'm sure your technical ability and your core competency is rock solid. The gaps probably exist in your practice and in your process, how you articulate value, how you achieve professional contrast. That framework will help you think it through. Okay, so what are next steps? See me on LinkedIn and request any of those resources. The STAR framework, 7 pillars, review meeting is obsolete at a minimum. If there's anything else that I've talked about you'd like a little bit more of a deeper dive, we'll give you the recording of this conversation. And if you just don't want to do it on your own and you want an accountability partner, then just talk to our team and see the merit in scheduling a consultation with me about creating your own blueprint. I'll put a little plug in for our Always On app. You can go to App Store or Google Play, depending on what kind of phone you use, and you can put Pareto in your pocket. We update and populate that pretty much every business day. So if you're serious about working on yourself personally and professionally, working on your business, you can put Pareto in your pocket, and I would appreciate that. And I will just say thank you very much for investing your time. I hope this got your wheels turning. I don't pretend that this is rocket science by any stretch, but I just want you to be deliberate. Okay, so let's take a look at some of these questions. What is your suggestion for a strategic meeting when my team consists of a shared client service professional, CSA? Okay, I'm assuming that's what that means. sharing a CSA is not permanent. You're tracking in a direction to having your bench strength built out. So just assume that. Engage your CSA, even if he or she is part-time, in your strategic planning concept. Just focus on where this is going. What's an effective way to translate a strategic plan into tangible action steps? The exercise propels that. The goal in strategic planning is to not only crystallize the plan, but to get clear on 6 to 8 gaps, action steps, things, little adjustments that you can make. And the exercise reveals that. Do I put gross revenues in my KPIs that I share with my staff, or should we share revenues with them? I mean, you live by the rules you set. I keep telling our clients, be an open kitchen. Everything is transparent, forthright, for your clients to see, for your team to see. I'll tell you something. When I first read The Millionaire Next Door, and he was talking to first-generation self-made affluent clients, he said that if you were a business owner interviewing a financial advisor, at the same time that you show that financial advisor your net worth and your financial statements, ask to see the advisors as well. And that was jarring. I mean, that was incredibly disruptive from my perspective. I thought that makes just perfect sense to be completely forthright, transparent, and completely aligned. How many touch points a year for a AAA, AA? Okay, that's what a service matrix will do. We've got that in our Pareto Academy in our process. It's not uncommon that a top team will touch a AAA client 35 times a year. Sometimes more, sometimes less, depending on how serious the team takes client experience. But that is about a round number for AAA. AA drops to about 30. But again, AA generally means aligned assets and attitude, just not advocacy. So you want to be not just fee worthy, you want to be referable. So you want to keep the service matrix pretty built out for AA. Single A, it starts to drop off, especially if they're missing the attitudinal compatibility. And then it just goes beyond double to B, C, D, and then of course AF, which are family members of A clients. But here's the thing, this service matrix is client facing. Single A clients need to know where they stand because they need to aspire. Do they want to aspire to a deeper relationship with your people, your practice, and your process? Also, if a AAA client happens to refer a family member who's nowhere near your ideal client profile, they are crystal clear that the expectation of service is defined for somebody who's not completely aligned and a great fit. Okay, so that's why the service matrix is so important, to give you clarity, but also to give your clients the clarity, and strategic partners. Remember, the biggest driver of advocacy is clarity. It's knowing how introducing someone to you will ultimately come back to reflect on the person who made the introduction. Unless and until they have that clarity, you're undermining your referability. Okay, so I've always enjoyed doing this. I get as much out of this because I'm in this strategic planning mindset myself right now with my team, with my wife. We're talking about the future and what we're trying to accomplish. It's just really good to carve out the time, be deliberate with intention, but also to translate these ideas into results through implementation. So I hope you got some value from this. We'll provide those resources if you want to DIY it. If you want to engage us, you know what to do. Just go to Pareto Systems and schedule a conversation. We'll explain exactly what you can expect from that. Okay, so thank you very much. I hope you finish strong in 2021 and position yourself to make 22 your best year ever. Stay in touch. We'll see you on LinkedIn. Check in with us anytime. Okay, bye for now.